Hey guys, welcome to my video. I'm Sean and this is a Photoshop tutorial on the clone stamp tool. So let's get started. So in order to select this tool, you can just go here and click or press the S key on your keyboard. Usage of this tool is fairly simple. Hold the Alt key and sample one area, let's say this bottle, and you can just go and paint here. And you see, we have cloned this bottle. Now it's not only this area, but if you keep moving along, it will keep sampling the entire image. Like so. Let's clean that up. Now as always, there are a couple of options up here, and we're going to dig deeper into each option. The first one is the brush option. You can select the size, hardness and the brush type that you wish. This brush preset option, we're going to study about it in a future video. This is one of the most important options. It's called the clone source option. Now what are the uses of this option? Well, these are the number of clone sources you can have. So let's say for example, I hold the Alt key and I source this bottle here. I can click this and go here and source this clock out here. And this one I can go and source the eye over here, and so on and so forth. And then I can just come back and start painting with my bottle. Or I can go here and start painting with the clock. This is basically where your cursor is on your picture depending on the Y and the X axis. So if I select this and I move it around, you can see it keeps changing values. Now this is the width and height of the clone. First let's create a reference image, like this one. Now I can go here and change the width to, let's say, 50%. Same image, but you get a smaller clone. Now you must have noticed that when I changed the width, the height also changed. That's because it's clipped over here. In case you want to change only the width or only the height, just unclip it. And this time let's change the height to 100. You see, only the height is changed. If I source this, see the height is way more than the width. Now for the angle. As you see, this bottle over here is slightly tilted, and I want the clone to be exactly straight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and try and tilt this a little bit. Now what this does is it's not tilting the actual image, but it's tilting your clone. Once I've said that, and if I try and clone this now, you see the bottle is much straight. Let's go and remove that and change it back to 0. Now this show overlay option. If you see, every time I source this bottle here, you can have like a sort of reference over here. But if I uncheck this, there is no reference. Now the thing of being clipped is, this is clipped to only the clone source, the initial clone source you can say. But if I unclip it, I can see the entire image and I can position it wherever I'd like. The opacity is basically, let's keep it unclipped so that we can see the opacity. I'm going to drop this down to 46 and you'll see how light this image gets. You can bump that up back to 100. The auto hide option is a pretty neat option in this. While I am unclipped, of course, if I want to start to paint, it's going to sort of remove the rest of the image while I'm painting a particular part, like so. And when I release my cursor, the rest of the image is ready to use again. Remove that and uncheck that, and the invert option will invert all colors. These are blending modes. You can darken, lighten, and a difference which is basically similar to the invert option. this clipped, and let's move on to the next options here. These are various blending modes which we will be studying in future videos. The next is the opacity. Now if you see, I source this bottle and I draw it up here, you can see it's exactly the same brightness and darkness and everything. But if I want to make it slightly transparent, I'm going to drop this down to like the same source, and you'll see it's slightly transparent. Difference in opacity. I'm going to bump it up to 100 again. Now this flow option, let me just take a source to sample. Yep. Now this is sort of a reference image for us. I'm going to bump this down again and select the same place. And you see this has also slightly become lighter. But you may start thinking that this is the same as the opacity option, but it's not. While the opacity keeps this light, the flow is basically the amount of ink that you're dropping onto your image. That means if I paint this again, it's going to get darker. And if I keep painting on it, it's going to go and take the shape or the look of the original image. Let's go and remove that. Pump it up to 100 again. This will give you an airbrush kind of an effect. Now the aligned option. Well, you must have seen every time I go and source this bottle here, I click and drag and I can paint the image. Now let's say I release my cursor and I want to go back and start painting here again. The tool actually remembers where you started from, and the distance between this crosshair that you can see, I'm trying to keep it on the bottle right now, and your brush is the same. That is because of the aligned option is being checked, and this is the default option that is always checked. So let's remove this. I'll show you what happens when you uncheck this option. Let's say I want 3 bottles over here and I don't want to keep clone sourcing. So I'll just source this bottle here and I'll click and drag one bottle, go here, click and drag another bottle, click and drag another bottle. You see, by unchecking this option, every time you release your cursor, the crosshair goes back to the clone source. Let's remove all of this and get this checked. Now sample the current and below layer. If you have multiple layers like this, if I say current layer, it will only sample this layer. Current and below would be this, and all layers would be all layers, of course. Now these two options are for pressure, which is not required when you're using a PC and mouse. Hope you guys learned something from this video. Make sure to hit the like button to show your support. Hit the subscribe button for further videos. Until next time, take care.